Hi guys, thank you for joining us on our webinar for PMCF, where you're going to know more about how to conduct a detailed, compliant and successful PMCF study. Your presence is highly appreciated and I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe during this pandemic situation. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Rinku Shekhawat, Senior Business Development Executive at Saraka Solutions and your host for today. Let me tell you some important points related to this webinar. All participants will be muted during this live webinar session. You can note your question during this live webinar and ask them after this webinar ends, or you can also mail your question to us. We will share a soft copy of our webinar presentation and a live webinar video link in the end to all our webinar attendees. Now, let me introduce our panelists for today's webinar. So, for today, we have two panelists. First is Kuldeep Tyagi, has 18 years of rich expertise in regulatory and clinical affairs. He is also founder and CEO of Saraka Solutions. And second is Arunanshu Das, who is expert in CER, PR, and text file writing with 7 years of experience. And now I request Arun to introduce himself and start the webinar. Arun, it's over to you.
Thanks, Rinku. Thanks, I really appreciate for your wonderful introduction. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people who have joined this webinar. And yes, we have been doing a series of webinars, and those are very successful so far. So we had one in the last week only, and we are doing this one, and then we'll one more in the next month, same date, same time. So you can save that in your calendar. So thanks for joining, everybody. We'll make it very short and crisp, like we did in our earlier webinars. I would request you all of you, to park your questions and ask as many as questions as possible, and you can ask directly, like you can request to Rinku, and she will open you, and you can ask directly online to us, to me or Kuldeep. So this is Arunanshu. I am senior clinical expert in Saraka Solution. I have around 7+ of years of experience in clinical, regulatory, quality. I've been working with maximum most of the Fortune 500 companies as our client. So these days, so let's come on the topic PMCF. So these days, it's really concerned with the medical device industry to collect or gather data, clinical data, and perform PMCF according to this new regulation. So this new European regulation, that EU MDR. So we are doing this webinar to help you to understand that how to do a successful PMCF study, by which you can gather or collect clinical data for to for your CER and for your device. So I'm going to give you like a brief description, and so I am going to give you a brief summary on the post-market surveillance as well. Give you a small touch upon on the post-market surveillance. Then I'll move on to the PMCF. So as the PMCF is a part of the proactive PMS, so I will give you a small introduction on PMS, post-market surveillance, then PMCF. So then I will tell you that when to conduct a PMCF study. So like nowadays, people are wondering that when I should do a PMCF study. So what are the requirements? So then I will tell you what are the requirements for a plan, for a PMCF plan and for a PMCF report. Then I will tell you the stages and clinical input for a PMCF. Then once you done a PMCF, then you can get a lot of study data. You can come out with study data. So what you will do with those study data? So I'll explain you that how you can use those PMCF study data in your manufacturing process, in your company process, and your other documentations. So challenges also I'll explain you. So during the PMCF study, you obviously face many challenges. So I have listed down some of the major challenges which we are facing and our clients also facing. So I will explain those major challenges to you. Then the update period, like for this European regulation, there are update periods, different update periods for different documentation. So people are wondering that, oh, this year need to be updated in this period of time. This PMS or PSUR report need to be updated in this period of time. There is another PMCF report need to be updated in this period of time. So I bring all of them together and I will show you a clear picture in one slide which document need to be updated when. So at the last, I'll show you a glimpse that what we have learned from this session, from today's session. So I'll give you a brief on that. So post-market surveillance. So what is a post-market surveillance? Like post-market surveillance obviously done by the manufacturer in cooperation with the other economic operators. So who are the other economic operators? So manufacturer is also an economic operator. So he take helps in cooperation with other economic operators are those importers, distributors, and EU representatives. So all of them are economic operators. So by cooperation with those with the economic operators, they keep up to date a systematic procedure to proactively collect and review the experience gained from the devices that are already on the market. So to collect the data, to proactively collect the clinical data from the devices which are already on the placed on the market and review the experience from them. So that called a post-market surveillance. So when a PMS need to arise, means whenever you launch a device in a market, immediately the requirement for a PMCA PMS is arises. For like higher risk classification, for higher risk device, the PMS need to be done in a more clear way, more that the requirement is more the requirement goes up according to the risk. So it's always directly proportional to the risks associated with your device. So PMCF, so this comes under post-market clinical follow-up. So this is a part of the proactive PMS. So PMCF shall be understood, this is a continuous process. By this PMCF, you can continuously update your clinical evaluation and it should be addressed in your PMS plan. This PMCF, the main findings of the PMCF need to be addressed very clearly in your PMS plan. So the goal of the PMS plan is to specify the methods and procedures used to proactively collect and evaluate the clinical data in relation to the product safety as well as clinical performance. Obviously, you can need to proactively collect and evaluate the clinical data that need to be in relation to the product safety and clinical performance. So the type of PMS data. So there are two types of PMS data, like proactive and reactive. So I told you earlier, this PMCF is a proactive PMS. So there are other components are also there. Customer surveys, expert user groups, or focus groups are type of proactive PMS. Then reactive PMS. So in reactive PMS, you can perform literature reviews, complaints, unsolicited user feedback, and failure analysis. So you can do this type of analysis, some feedback analysis, complaint analysis, literature review analysis in reactive type of PMS. So now, like notified bodies are asking to do more proactive PMS data. So this MDR regulation is also telling you that you need to do a proactive PMS rather than a reactive PMS. So objective of PMS. So why we are doing a PMCF? So to collect data, to collect clinical data and gain clarity regarding the long-term clinical performance of the product, to identify the previously unknown or monitoring known side effects, and to identify the residual risks, any emergent risk, the contraindications, ensure the continued acceptability and of the benefit risk ratio, and identify off-level misuse risks. So this identify off-level, what is identify off means? Why, when the instructions are mentioned in your instruction for use, that is IFU, sometimes, yeah, obviously, whenever a doctor is using a device, sometimes he pushed further and he go beyond the instructions. But sometimes, you need to identify those. So the instruction, the doctor need to follow the instructions. So you need to identify if there are any off-level use, so that called as misuse, and you need to identify those misuse or off-level use during this PMCF. By this PMCF you can identify those. So when to conduct a PMCF study? So nowadays, like, people are wondering that when to do when to conduct a PMCF study, then when I should perform a PMCF study. Then this comes like to confirm the safety and or clinical performance for a new indication. Whenever there is a new indication regarding to your device, then you need to perform the PMCF study. Any changes to your medical device as well as to the labeling. So if you are changing, if you have changed the device or change the labeling, change the instruction for use, so you need to go for a PMCF study. Increase in risk classification. If your device risk classification has been increased, like from 2A to 2B, 2B to 3. So like in MDR, there is a lot of risk reclassification has been done on the devices. So if that's happened, like your risk class has been increased, so you need to go for a PMCF study. Then post-market surveillance activities, sometimes the other activities of PMS raised questions about the safety and clinical performance of your device. So then you need to go for a PMCF study to confirm those safety and performance, to ensure those clinical safety performance. On request, obviously, on the request of notified body and the competent authority, you need to go for a PMCF study. So requirement of PMCF plan. First, you need to create a PMCF plan, obviously. So what are the requirements of PMCF plan? To gathering of clinical experience gained, feedback from users, screening of scientific literature, and other source of clinical data. Means all type of clinical data you need during creating a PMCF plan. Evaluate suitable registries of all PMCF studies. If there are any PMCF studies existing or suitable registries, then you need to review them during the PMCF plan. Relevant part of CER, like there are a separate section in CER in regarding to the PMCF and risk management documentation. You need to review them, and those, there are inputs are there are gaps are there. So during the CER evaluator may found any gaps during the CER evaluation. So those gaps need to be addressed in the PMCF plan very clearly. So objectives of the PMCF you need to decide the objectives, and those objectives need to be listed down in the PMCF plan very clearly within the plan. So clinical data related to equivalent or similar devices. If you are claiming equivalent, like your equivalent device or similar device, then you need to list down those equivalent and similar devices inside the plan. So you need to refer other guidance documents and standards, common specification, those CS. You need to refer those guidance, standards, and CS in the PMCF plan, obviously, and the time schedule. So this is the most important part. So whenever you are doing a PMCF plan, you need to clearly mention that this is the time schedule. I am going to start my PMCF and I am going to finish my PMCF. So the study time period need to be defined very clearly inside the PMCF plan. So requirement of the PMCF report. So comes to the report. So the plan is required. The investigational plan is required for the report, obviously. Then the patient informed consent form, by which you can get the consent, informed consent from the patient. So the device IFU, device instruction for use, and CE certification of the related to the device. Then the study site. If you are focusing some study site, the region, You need to you need that study site details, then the qualification of the clinicians or the caregivers to whom you are for taking the response. Like if a doctor is providing you a response, then he can provide you the CV as well or some other qualification documents. If you are doing a PMCF study for a higher risk device like implantable or class 3 device, then that require more clinical data. And if you are claiming a equivalence, then obviously if that equivalent device is from the same manufacturer, from device was from your company, then it's okay. If the device is from other manufacturer, then you need to have a agreement with the other manufacturer to access the technical data to claim the equivalence. So stages of PMCF. So what are the stages to create a successful PMCF study? First, you need to determine the PMCF strategy. You need to first fix up the strategy. So how you can fix up a strategy? By the gap analysis of the PMCF data. Obviously, there is a PMCF data, existing PMCF data. If then you need to do a data gap analysis. So according to the gap analysis, evaluate the current clinical evidences. Whatever the current clinical evidences, current clinical data are available, then evaluate them. Then create the plan according to the gap analysis, according to the evaluation of the current clinical evidences, then create the PMCF plan. So during creating a PMCF plan, you can get input from the post-market surveillance, from the CER clinical evaluation report, from the benefit risk ratio conclusion. Then develop a PMCF objective. To do a PMCF study, you need to develop a PMCF objective first. So how you can develop an objective? So there are different options to develop a PMCF objective. So there are different options like a proactive clinical literature review. You can do a literature review, customer survey, enhanced complaint and adverse event monitoring. You can do a complaint monitoring, complaint analysis, then company sponsored clinical studies, registries, ISS. So there are company sponsored clinical studies are there. Some clinical studies are from companies sponsored, so you can review them as well. Then from all these clinical data evaluation or from reviewing all the data, performing all the objective, then you can go for a PMCF evaluation report. So by gathering all the clinical evidence on the device, input from the clinical, post-market, risk documentations, you can write a proper clinical evaluation report. So clinical inputs for PMCF. So where you are going to get the input for PMCF? So there are two types of inputs. One is publicly available clinical data. One is main findings for the currently clinical evaluation on the current clinical evaluation. So what are the inputs are available in the public? So scientific literature or manufacturer and equivalent device. So scientific literatures of the manufacturer and as well as the equivalent device are available on the publicly available databases like PubMed, Google Scholar, Embase. So other clinically relevant vigilance information, you can review the vigilance information. You can review the vigilance information obviously from the public vigilance databases like MODE, BFMRA, Swissmedic, TG18, TG Recall. So there are a number of vigilance databases which are all public. So you can review those vigilance data from those databases for the proper clinical data. Then available feedbacks. If any feedbacks are available publicly, then you can review them. When come to this current clinical evaluation, what are the main findings on the current clinical evaluation? Then the data are like summary of safety and performance. So you have your summary on the safety and performance inside the risk documentation and inside the clinical evaluation reports. So benefit versus risk analysis, you have your benefit versus risk analysis data or summary. Then relevant PMS information. So from PMS, there are questions or there are relevant information which may help in creating a proper PMCF study. So those you can use. So see your findings. So whenever you create a clinical evaluation report, so sometimes you find gaps. Sometimes you find gaps in the clinical data, current clinical data or publicly available clinical data. So during CR findings, so those findings are very critical. So those findings, you need to review them, and you can bridge a gap with a proper PMCF study to bridge those gaps of SCR findings. So evaluation of current clinical experience. So I want Kuldeep, he can explain this slide in a more detailed manner. So Kuldeep, over to you.
Thanks, Arun. I think you're doing wonderfully good. Perhaps you could do this as well, but thanks for giving me the opportunity to present this slide. So I think evaluation of current clinical experience in emerging risk, this becomes very important aspect of doing PMCF, and there are a couple of elements. So you look at the complaint trends, how were the complaints really coming in the last few years? What is the trend? Earlier we used to do complaint trend and do gap analysis and a couple of other things. But here it tells you how really you take those complaint trends and what elements you have to bring into your product development so that you make your product better. Obviously, adverse events. Are there really adverse events in your product or your competitive product? You will have to look at those. Any recalls you had during this time? I mean, one of the projects we're doing currently, we're doing around 25 PMCF surveys. We're going around the world, getting these surveys out to the caregivers. And one of the challenging tasks is first to reach out to these people and getting their response. But at the same time, we are seeing some wonderful results, which were not there in complaints. The complaints which we have received, from the manufacturer or medical device manufacturer, and the complaints we are getting from the databases which Arun has already explained, FDA MOD database, Swiss database, Australian database. We have almost used around 10 different databases. But though, if you look at the trends of those complaints and type of those complaints and surveys, the results are totally different. I think surveys, in my opinion, has been really, really effective to understand your product, how it is doing in the market, what improvements you could do, what are the challenges which are faced by the clinicians. Many times they don't go and update their complaints onto the MOD database, right? But when you go there, reach out to them and request them for data, they are willing to provide. And it's very important how you rephrase your questions. Many times, engineers things like engineer, but are you really phrasing your questions which a clinician can understand, right? I think we have done so much of those, and we have been highly successful in getting some good trends which were not really achieved by our customers or manufacturers, a traditional way of getting complaints. Second is sales data. That's another really good factor to see how your product is doing. Is the sales going down in the same market? If there's no disruptive change in the market, then sales will not go down. Those are good data to look at when you do a PMCF. Changes in countries, regions of distribution. Are there changes you have made? You added 4 more countries? Have you reduced the number of countries where you distribute or sell? Why you have reduced? Right? Each country have their own regulations, as you know. I mean, US FDA and European EUMDR, Japan, these are highly regulated countries. If you are selling products in these markets, it becomes very easier to sell in other markets where regulations are not as complex as there. You have to look at the risk. I think one of the very important aspect looking at risk, and we have been, Arun and I and his team, we have been astonished many times finding very critical risks which we were not identified in your DFMEA, in your PFMEA, in your clinical FMEAs, your risk table. You have done all sorts of things. You're getting complaints, internal complaints. You are going to the vigilance databases. But we have found that some of the risks, critical risks, which were missed at all these 3 places, we were able to get using PMCF. And some of these things were fixed in time and that really helped not only the manufacturer, but our ultimate mission is to ensure that we provide best product in the hands of caregivers, and so that they can give best treatment to the patients, and everything is good as far as the public health goes. Benefit and risk assessment, it becomes very critical. We do benefit risk assessment while we do CARs, we do benefit risk analysis. If we do submission to 510Ks or any other submission tech files that we do in Europe. But here it becomes very critical element that how do you really see those risk assessments? You weigh them against what you're going out in the market as far as the survey goes. Over to you, Arun.
Thank you, Kuldeep. Thanks for this detailed information, detailed explanation. I really appreciate your detailed explanation on this clinical evaluation part. So I have listed the options for PMCF activities. So obviously, when you are going to do a PMCF study, you need to follow some activities. So I have listed the major options for PMCF activities. So the major options like clinical literature, database or registries, feedback, clinical study. So the options are like some are very good, some are good, some are excellent. So in the next slide, I will show you a pictorial representation of these options in a different parameters. So let me explain you. So clinical literature, how you can do a PMCF activity through a clinical literature. So review the literatures of the manufacturer of the as well as the equivalent devices. Sometimes these literatures are also used as a state of the used as in the clinical background or state of the art of your devices. So database or registries. So when I call this database or registries, these are not your own database or registries like manufacturer owned database or registries. These are the registries are available with the government or with the hospital registries. So these are very challenging. According to me, these database registry to review these database or registries are challenging tasks because obviously you need exactly clinical data against your claims because you are confirming the clinical safety and performance against your claims. What are the claims you are claiming on the market? So sometimes you can't get exactly relevant data against your claims. So that sometimes it's a bit challenging to review the database and registry. And in the same time, when you are reviewing a database or registry, then you need to keep the clinical data of the patient very safely and in a confidential manner. So it's been challenging in different point of view. So feedback, like a simple feedback, customer survey, expert user group, focus group, user feedback. So this is a recommendable option to do a feedback, to prepare a questionnaire, go to the different regions according to your sales distribution. Then you can get a good clinical data, real life data from the clinicians, from the caregivers, directly from the patient. So you can use them in a proper manner in your PMCF study, clinical study. So this is the best option, but obviously this recommendable for a higher risk devices, for class 3 or very new devices. So if you have a new device with a high risk, then you need to go for a clinical study. So what is a clinical study? Like you can do a randomized control trial, you can do observational studies with controlled retrospective study, a case control study. So according to me, the randomized control trial is the best type of study, clinical study. So you can just create a proper protocol, align a protocol, get it approved from a third party, from any third party service provider. You can get it approved, that protocol, then go for the approval of the competent authority, take the protocol and take the approval from the competent authority, then go for the sign for a ethics committee and go for the hospital sign in which you are going to do the trial. Take the sign from the ethics committee, take the sign from the hospital, then do the clinical trial. A randomized control trial is a recommendable control trial. Do this clinical trial, and you can finish with a clinical study which you can use for your new or high risk devices. So this is the pictorial representation which I talked earlier. I have there are three parameters: cost, time, and effectiveness. The earlier those four options are there in the left side: clinical literature review, survey, database registry review, clinical study. So in clinical literature review, it's obviously very less costlier. Time is also takes less time, but at the same time the effectiveness is very slow, very less. So earlier people should do this clinical literature review in their PMCF, but now the notified bodies are asking for more, like they ask for more clinical data, more real life clinical data. So survey, in this survey the cost is little bit higher on the higher side on the clinical literature review, and the time also takes a little bit more than the time taken by the clinical literature review. In the same time the effectiveness is good in compared to the clinical literature review. So this is a recommendable options for a legacy device. Like if you have a very established device in the market, your legacy device in the market, then you can simply go for a survey. You can get feedbacks, real life clinical data from the clinician, from the caregiver, from directly from the patient. You can review them and you can prepare a you can prepare a proper PMCF evaluation report. So database or registry review. Earlier I told you that this bit challenging in some cases, but obviously you can get a very good data in this if you can, but the cost is bit higher in compared to the survey or clinical literature review. The time is also a little bit higher, but the effectiveness is very good, but it's sometimes it's bit challenging. It's been a challenging task for few perspective. So clinical study, so this is the best option earlier I shared you, but this is the costliest method, and the time, it took a lot of time to do all those process, but the effectiveness was excellent for a clinical study. So clinical study is always recommendable for a new device which you are going to launch, that and there is no equivalent device, or like you are not claiming equivalence to the device that was a new technology to the market, or with a high risk. If you are launching a very high risk devices like class 3 devices, then the clinical study is recommendable. So it's a costlier option. Like you need to go for the competent authority approval, you need to take the ethics committee approval, you need to go for the hospital approval, then you can do a trial, and you can also, you have to take the approval from a third party on the protocol. So this is a costlier option, but this is recommended for a high risk class devices. So conduct a PMCF survey. So how you can conduct a PMCF survey? So you are doing, when you are doing a survey, you can go with your claims or your instructions, your intended use, your intended purpose. So when you are going with the claims or intended purpose, you are going to ask those intended purpose or claims in the market. So the parameters and the endpoints so cannot deviate from the instruction for use, your IFU and the claims. So those parameters need to be very clear and the endpoints need to be very clear. So the sample size need to be larger, and the center selection much wider to include multiple investigators. So once when you wide the center selection, then only you can include multiple investigators. So then you can verify verification of the safety and clinical performance claim in a larger, less controlled study group. So whenever you are claiming a claims in larger or less controlled group, that is a real life clinical data. So use questionnaires that provide reliable and usable data. So to create a questionnaire, like Kuldeep earlier told you, so creating questionnaire is a really challenging task. So questionnaire need to be very clear, point to point. You need you are obviously you are engineer. So when you create a questionnaire that may be much more complicated for a clinician or for a nurse like caregiver, so just create a questionnaire very simple, which complying with your claims and instruction and intended purpose. So to create a proper questionnaire which provide you reliable and usable data, so create a questionnaire like that. So like PMCF study can be done like paper based and software based. So if you are using a software based PMCF study, so don't forget to do validate that software first, then you can only do the PMCF study. So first validate that software tool to prepare a validation report, then you can go for a PMCF study report. and that validation need to be done according to the GCP standard ISO 14155. Then select a tool. That software tool also be like customized, because you are doing multiple PMCF study for different devices. So that PS tool need to be very flexible, so that you can customize that tool for multiple ways to initiate survey. So once you finish the PMCF study, then you can come out with a different study data. So what you will do with those study data? Those study data can be very much effective in your company, different processes and different documentations. So I have listed some of them, like the PMCF data can be done, do your design change of your device. That's the most critical option. So sometimes you get very critical feedback from it, from caregivers or patient. So that may lead to a design change of your device. Sometimes it may lead to a IFU or labeling change. It may change the IFU labeling. It may update your IFU labeling. It's some, and also for a new device, for for a new device which will be launched in the market, that update multiple time your IFU and labelings. Public health notification that may help this PMCF data used in public health notification. Manufacturing process that may update, that may change your manufacturing process. CER is a very critical part of this PMCF study data. This PMCF study data bridges, I earlier told you, there are a lot of gaps. There are different gaps found by the author or the evaluator persons of a CER, which may be bridged by this PMCF study data. So this PMCF study data is a very good input to the CER. Then corrective actions also, sometimes PMCF study data may initiate to raise a CAPA or corrective action. So role of notified bodies, I want Kuldeep, he can explain you more on this role of notified bodies in PMCF. So Kuldeep, can you take a lead over here?
Oh, thanks, Arun. I think you're doing wonderfully good. When you speak, attendees are going to 3 digits. But thanks for giving me the honor again. So I think role of notified bodies in general is very important, for us in medical devices. We have seen in last 2 years, the CER and PMCF have become, both of them are very critical. And, we have worked with BSI, DECRA, SGS, many notified bodies, while we were putting together text files, CERs, PMCF, a lot of documentations. And as this standard was new for everyone, each parties were learning, consultants were learning, services companies were learning, medical device companies were also catching up onto the standard, as well as the auditors. We have faced auditors 3 years ago, and we're facing auditors now. The kind of questions they are asking is totally different. It's really wonderful to see how the same standard, which language hasn't changed, but its interpretation is quite different as time goes along. So role of notified body, obviously audit the manufacturer's general post-market surveillance procedures plans, including PMCF. I think very critical. I have worked on PMCF plans long ago, which were very simple, and now PMCF plans could go into hundreds of pages. Arun and his team, we have developed like hundreds of PMCF plans in last few years. They are very exhaustive. They are quite detailed, and then it really helps to have a safe and effective device in the market, which is the whole intention of all the parties, be it notified body, be it manufacturers, be it a competitor body or regulatory. So it becomes very difficult, for notified bodies to audit if your document is not crisp, if it is not up to date, if it is not giving you information then and there. Many times people say that I have attachments, I can provide data when somebody would ask, but it may be too late. You have to understand that notified bodies are outside the people. They're coming to audit you just for a day, right, for a few hours. So they need to see your results fairly quickly. So your content has to be very solid, very crisp, and up to date, and it should be in a way that it could be understood by the folks really well. The second important task they do is verify that PMCF is conducted on behalf of the manufacturer as part of the overall clinical evaluation. Many times manufacturers for various regions, be it a small company, startup, or a large Fortune 500 company, they use companies like us to do their PMCF. But notified bodies want to ensure that when this work is being done outside, it is done with the verification and approval of the manufacturer. The third important point is very critical for all of us in this industry, that if notified body is not convinced with your content, with your PMCF data, your plan, your surveys, they might restrict you to have your device restricted to certain population of patients. For example, you made a device which is valid for old age folks, adults, and children, but they might say that, hey, by the way, you do not have enough content here. We have not done surveys on neonatal. We have not done surveys on infants, right? So you have to exclude that population from your IRQ. They will also check that your PMCA plan is appropriate. It includes post-market studies in detail, and holistically, their role becomes very critical in ensuring that you goes out in the market. PMCF plans initially were people did not take them very critically, but I think as time goes along in the last 2 years, we have seen that we have done hundreds of CARs for many large, small, and big customers, and initially not many of them were asking us to do PMCF plans and surveys. But right now, every single CR we are doing, we have PMCF plan as well as surveys along with that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuldeep. Thank you so much for your detailed explanation. You have explained very well, very well for the role of notified bodies. So let's come to the challenges part. So challenges of a PMCF studies, like I thought it's been faced by everyone, whoever do a PMCF study. So there are multiple challenges are there. Whenever you do a PMCF study, you must face a multiple challenges during your PMCF study. So the major challenges, we are doing different PMCF study for different types of devices. So there are common challenges which we are facing. We have listed some major challenges from them here for you. So first, the challenges is if the device is marketed as a new. So if you are doing a PMCF on a new device, so obviously it's very difficult to get clinical data from the market for your PMCF study. So for a new device, it's been challenging to do a PMCF study. So device PMS, so sometimes the position unique, the devices are very complex and diversity. So whenever I am talking about this complexity and diversity, these are in terms of their development, product development phase, and the life of the device is very shorter, and the nature behind the product development and technology behind the device. So those are it is perspective, from this perspective, the device is complex and diversified. So for this type of devices, complex devices, it's been difficult to get PMCF study data from the market. And whenever you are doing a PMCF study, you need to go for the direct to the patient. You need data directly from the patient. So sometimes it's you go to some patient, so you are focusing a proper group, and after finishing the PMCF study, you find that the patient which has provided their consent form are not meeting the eligibility criteria, like the population. If you are doing a PMCF study for a certain group of population, like you are doing for only for the pediatric, but sometimes you get responses from the neonatal patient and from a adult patient. So at that time, those you need to remove those responses. And also sometimes there are different type of challenges by which the patient are not meeting the eligibility criteria by the gender wise, by their sex wise. So after that also sometimes the patient are not in a uh, not in a position to provide you the consent form, they are being facing challenges to provide you the consent patient provide you the consent form. So it's been obviously challenging to get the consent from the patient directly. Then creating the objectives or endpoints, like creating the questionnaires. So it's been very much important to create the questionnaire point to point, that need to list down the endpoints and claims very clearly, so that the patient or the caregivers can understand your questionnaire and can provide you the response. Because obviously what I have told you earlier, from our engineering perspective, it's been difficult to, from our engineering perspective, sometimes we write question which we think that it might be very easier to understand by the other peoples, but it's been difficult. Sometimes it's been difficult to understand by the other people. So prepare a questionnaire which can be understood by each and everyone. So that clear questionnaire with clear endpoints, with clear objectives can lead to you to get better responses, better answers, so that you can create a proper PMCF study. So I told you, like there are different update period for different documentations, different documents according to this EU MDR regulation. So I bring all of them together. So it's been very interesting when I bring all of them together. When I put them in a single slide, I can see that all of them are the update periods, are most of the documentations are same. But whenever people go for reading the regulation, so there are in different chapters. So whenever they read PMS or PSUR, they found a different update period. They found the update period, and whenever they read the PMCF, they found another update period. So they think that these are the different. When they read the CER, when they get the CER data, CER requirements, then they found another update period. So they think that all the update periods are different, and it's been confusing. So I bring all of them together, but all are maximum the update periods are same. So in class 1, I can show you the PMCF and the CER and the PMS report are same. Like whenever necessary, you can do a PMS or PMCF or a CER. For class 2A device, so there is only change in the class 2A device. So for PMCF and CER, you can update these reports in 2 to 5 years, CER also in 2 to 5 years. But for PSUR report, you need to update the PSUR report within 2 years, maximum 2 years, or whenever it's necessary. So let me confirm you, this PMS or PSUR report are the requirements are a little bit different according to this MDR regulation. This PUR came into effect from this MDR regulation only. So for class 1 device, the PMS or PSU, not PSU, only PMS report. For class 2A, class 2B, and class 3, PSUR report will be applicable. So for class 2B, the PMCF and CER and PSUR report can be updated annually. For class 3 as well, the PMCF, CER, and PSUR report can be updated annually. So let me give you a glimpse on what we have learned today in the today's session. So when to conduct a PMCF study. So I told you, I explained you that when to conduct a PMCF study, when we required a PMCF study, then the processes for the PMCF to perform a successful PMCF study. I told you what are the processes you need to follow to create a successful PMCF study. Then evaluation, how to, Kuldeep has explained really very well that how to evaluate the current clinical data, clinical experience, and emerging risk. The emerging risks are really difficult during PMCF study. You can get to know that what are the emerging risks, new risks, emerging risks which are in the market, which are which may arises from your device, which has been arised from your device. So from this process, you can get a very real life data So this evaluation of current clinical data and clinical experience and emerging risks is very important. So how to develop a PMCF strategy? I told you that what are the components to develop a proper PMCF strategy to do a PMCF study. Then potential options. I told you what are the potential options. There are 4 options. I have explained you that what are those are the potential options for a PMCF activities. I also showed you a pictorial representation of the different parameters like cost and time and effectiveness, so that you can choose your option according to your device risks, device establishment in the market, device performance. So you can choose any of the options and you can do a PMCF study. Obviously, you can take multiple options for one PMCF study as well. So also I explained you what are the major challenges. So I told you like challenges is a part of PMCF study. So I listed down the major challenges which are facing by us during our multiple PMCF studies. So I listed down the major challenges, and I also told you that how to overcome those challenges during a PMCF study. So that's all from my side. So as I told you earlier, so we are going to do another webinar session that regarding to this ISO 14971 2019, that related to these tips to be better risk assessment on medical devices. So mark your calendar from now. So this is the same date, next month, same time. So over to you, Rinku.
Thank you, Arun and Kuldeep, for this wonderful presentation. I hope our attendees will like it too. So guys, you can park your questions in the chat box, and also you can raise your hands. My co-organizer Ankit and I will unmute you and allow you to ask your questions. And then I will transfer your question to our expert so that they can answer your questions. One question is there from one question is there, Arun. How do you select reception for a customer survey?
Yeah, good question. It's a really nice question. So how you can select recipients? So it's been very critical during your preparation of PMCF plan. You need to properly list down that how you are focusing the group, what is the region you are going to do the survey, and who are the recipients. So the recipients can be provided by your marketing affairs, your sales team, from your distributors. You can get data of your of the hospitals and the patients from your distributor, from your sales marketing affair team, sales team. So from them you can get this data. But how to do this PMCF study? You need to clearly mention the objective and the process in your PMCF plan properly. So by the objective and by the options, so you can focus the group, focus the region, and go to the recipient and take responses with the proper questions which you have set up earlier.
Another question is there. What if we will not have PMCF?
Can you repeat again?
What if will you not have PMCF?
Okay, if we don't have PMCF? Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, it's obviously it's regulatory requirement means you can tell like we don't have PMCF to the notified body. It's the regulatory requirement according to the risk classification, according to the EU MDR regulation. Whenever, like earlier, according to the MDD directive. So that was a directive, obviously. So that MDD 9342 EEC, there is certain relaxation in the PMCF. So there are certain relaxation for lower classes of for lower risk classes devices. There are certain relaxation that. So you can give explanation that why I am not going to do a PMCF study for my device. There is a certain explanation are there. You can write 2 to 3 lines from your explanation side, and you can skip this PMCF studies portion. But now, according to this MDR regulation, the MDR, obviously from the MDR, is only putting effort to gather and collect clinical data. So to gather and collect clinical data, the most best option is PMCF study. So for this to update your CER or to update your documentation according to the MDR regulation, then you obviously have to need a PMCF study according to your risk classes, according to your risks, according to your medical devices risk.
Hi, Arun.
Sorry, if I can add a few things on what you just said. I think you
Yes.
explained it really well. We have done many tech file and CRs in past 1 year or so, where when customers came to us, they asked us, hey, can you please prepare a STAT and a CR, and they didn't know that there is a requirement of PMCF as well. Many times, it becomes difficult, so we have recommended them to have a PMCF plan. Initially, about a year ago, I think not many folks were very keen. They thought that STAT and CR are enough. But when notified bodies have audited and they did not accept the STAT, and they said your PMCF plan has to be there at a minimum. You can do surveys at later stage, but without PMCF plan, there is no go. Thank you.
Hi, Arun. I have another one question. You explained about this PSUR, which is a periodical safety update report. But what about actually like a SSCP, the safety clinical performance? How is this getting a benefit, impact, and how this will be related with this PMCF? It's my first question. And also you talk about like a challenges if there's a new device come to the market, or patients are maybe not meeting the eligibility criteria. Of course, this is always in the new products are facing this two major criteria always. But you've been saying this is a challenges. Yes, agree. I completely agree. But how do we can come out this? There is the process is defined in the PMCF, which is in the 2017-745 methodology, or like this been defined in the MDR, any checklist or flow or anything else, or how is that? And my third question is that the CE, okay, CE also will be like relating with the PMCF. I'm taking the report, how is impacting my CE certificate? Because when I'm launching product, I have a CE, okay. After this one, how much changes, how this way allowing the CE marks, how much they're allowing actually for the update everything. And the another one is that the last question is that you see basically what I'm understanding, the PMCF is part of the PMS, but this all completely related with the CAPA. So the CAPA process also, if you are explain that how this be any changes in the CAPA process when it's coming from the PMCF, or like the CAPA process, the regular CAPA process we need to follow, or any difference in that the new classes. That is the last question.
Okay. So let me your first question. Can you repeat your first question again?
My first question is that you will explained about like a periodic safety update report, which is PSUR,
Okay.
but I would like to know what about like the summary of safety and clinical performance, SSCP. It's not there in your stuff, but that also will impact, right? When I'm getting the things.
Yes.
So this is a majority actually, like that is what we need to see about like the class 1 device and everything. And what about like this is what my first question. You want to repeat my all questions or?
No.
Are you okay?
I have the rest of the question. Yep. So for this periodic safety update report, like earlier, this is the only post-market surveillance report. So what in MDD regulation 9342 EC in MDD regulation, they according to the MDD regulation, it's only PMS report for all the risk classes devices. So now what happened in MDR? So MDR changed the name, but the requirement are mostly same. There are some changes in the requirement, but the name MDR has changed to keep you like to put the name in your mind. That the name they changed from PMS to PSUR only for class 2A, class 2B, and class 3 devices. The class 1 still it needs PMS report. So class 2A, class 2B, and class 3, they put the name in place of PMS as a PSUR. So periodic safety update report. So the name itself tells you that this report need to be updated periodically. So for higher risk devices like from up from the class 2A and class 2B and class 3 devices, the report need to be updated periodically. So in this periodical update, so according to your question, the clinical safety and performance, so that also updated periodically. So whenever there are questions, obviously there are questions will generate day to day periodically from your different complaints, from your different feedbacks, from MDRs, from MDVRs. The complaint always it's raised, always complaints raised against to your safety and clinical performance. So that's why the MDR bring this into effect, this periodically safety update report. So when you will update it periodically, obviously your clinical and safety and performance will get updated periodically, so that you can comply with the clinical safety and performance according to the requirement. So your second question, the challenges. Challenges for new devices. So how to come out from the challenges for a new device. So when you will do a PMCF study for new device, so just wait for a certain time period. That check with your sales data, checks with your marketing department that how many device has been sold in the market, what are the regions. Then check, then just wait for a certain period to sell a to being the device being sold by a proper amount. The sales amount need to be gradually increased from up to a certain amount. Then start doing a PMCF study and focus the proper market group. And also don't and also if you are selling in a single market, then it's easy. But if you are selling throughout the world, then don't put filters on the region criteria. Do PMCF study worldwide, like to go around the world, so that you can get multiple clinicians and multiple patients, multiple caregivers, so that you can get enough number of responses for a new device. Then for CAPA, your question, this regarding this CAPA process. So all these are related to a CAPA process. Obviously, all these are related to CAPA process. For your complaint data, whenever you received a complaint from your production or from your post-production activities, inside your company, outside your company, during the supply chain management, whenever you received a complaint, you obviously open a CAPA. So according to this CAPA, you are doing you can evaluating your clinical safety and clinical performance of your device. And you are doing if you are receiving any complaints that's related, that's making a gap in the clinical data, so at the time you should perform a PMCF study which bridges the gap, which may raised by these complaints or by these feedbacks or by the MDR or MDVRs during MDVRs. So you can bridge those gaps with this PMCF study. Are there any question?
Rico?
The CE marks
No.
certification.
Okay, CE marks. Can you repeat this question again?
Oh, when I'm launching a product, even I'll be like having a CE mark and everything, correct? But after the PMCF, there will be some changes, obviously. So how is this impact with the CE marks? I have to go through the complete process, or how is it? Its relationship between the PMCF report with the CE mark upgrade. What is the
Yes,
impact
for
relation?
PMC. Okay, so PMCA is a part of your tech file. So whenever you are going for a C certification, you are obviously submitting your tech file for the audit. So with the tech file, the PMCF is a part of your tech file. So according to that there are multiple components of a tech file. So one, you are doing multiple evaluation in multiple documentations. So one documentation evaluation, if you find gaps in one document, then you bridge that gap in another document. Sometimes the gaps raised by, sometimes question raised in PMS activities. There are different PMS activities. Those gaps can be bridged in this PMCF in CER, in the risk versus benefit conclusion, or sometimes hazard analysis. There are some gaps in hazard analysis, there are some gaps in CER, risk versus benefit conclusion. So those gaps can be bridged by this PMCF study. So so this PMCF obviously a requirement by the regulation. So when you are submitting the complete tech file, you can get the CE certification.
One more attendee is there, Anand, who had raised his hand. Anand, you can unmute yourself. You are self-muted. You can ask your question to our panelist.
Yeah, thank you, Rinku. Hi, Arun. This is Anand. Arun, can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, my question is as per MDR Annex 14 Part B, they're mentioning we can go with justification also. Why PMCF plan is or PMCF is not required. And recently, MDCG they released two templates. One is for PMCF plan and one is for report. Right?
Yes.
There also we need to give everything in PMCF plan. If you written a PMCF plan, then we need to give why we are writing that PMCF plan and when we are going to give the study results. Everything we need to mention that period. But in MDR, they are giving justification also. We need to give. So how we are going to justify this one with the plans and MDR justification?
Yes. So this is there is something related to the earlier directive. So in MDD, like MDD directive, so in most of the risk class devices, you can have a justification that why you don't need a PMCF study. But in MDR, so there is a specific requirement in XIV Part B. There is a specific requirement for this a PMCF study, and there is a very small road by which if you are going that you can give a justification that why that I don't need a PMCF study by this justification. So like your device is a very low class device, class 1 device, established device, longer market data, legacy device, you have a longer you have a bunch of clinical data with you. There are a lot of literatures been released related to your device. There are a number of complaints. There are number of data are available in the vigilance databases. You can evaluate them. You can evaluate the vigilance data. You can evaluate the clinical literature available in the publicly available databases. So if your clinical data are very much sufficient, then and your device risk is very low, like class 1. So and your device is established and a legacy device, then you can give a justification that the PMCF study is not required according to the MDR regulation also. And the MDCG 2020 Part 7, what you are talking about, that MDCG, the MDCG regulation, that is a very good guidance document for your PMCF plan and PMCF report. So during creating a PMCF plan, PMCF report, obviously we are also following that MDCG guidance document to create a to follow the regulation, to follow the requirement of that MDCG guidance document.
Thank you, Arun.
Um,
Thank you for the clarification.
So thank you guys for joining us on our webinar today. I have one more important announcement of the day, that our next webinar on ISO 14971 2019 is going to be held in the same day in the next one, that is 21st of September. So the invitation to all the interested and candidates will be shared on their prospect mail IDs. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. Have a good day.
Rinku, I have one more thing. I will share some poll questions to our attendees so that they can give some survey to us. This will appear on your screen for 1 minute for each poll question.
Yeah, sure, Ankit.
Yeah, I think this poll is very good. This will help us to do better in future webinars. So I would request each one of the participants to help us understand what do you feel about this webinar and the content.
Here is the next one. And the next one is also here. And the last. So thank you guys for being there for almost 1.5 hours, and thank you Kuldeep and Arun for being such a lovely presenters and explaining all those things in a simplest way that all attendees can understand. And thank you Rinku for organizing such a wonderful webinar. Thanks a lot. Have a good day everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.